Welcome to this deep dive, where we try and break down complex topics and pull out the key insights you really need. Today, this one's especially for all you hypnosis practitioners listening in. We're focusing on a really pivotal stage in conversational hypnosis, the testing phase. Think about it. You guided your client, maybe they feel great, you've seen shifts, but how do you really know if that change is solid? Like, if it's going to hold up when they walk back out into their everyday life.
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Exactly. And that's where the power of testing comes in. That's what we're digging into today, using insights from a recent training session by Advanced Conversational Hypnosis expert Virginie.
Right. As practitioners, you're skilled at helping clients find those inner resources, shift perspectives. Testing is kind of like the quality control check.
Yeah.
It's about making sure those internal changes are strong enough, to handle the real world. Life throws curveballs.
And Virginie's insights, they really illuminate the how-to, the practical side. Our mission here is basically to equip you with knowledge you can actually use, like tomorrow in your sessions, stuff that leads to more effective, more lasting results for your clients.
Definitely.
Okay, so let's unpack the first big point Virginie highlighted,
Right.
the way testing can uncover underlying issues, stuff that might otherwise stay hidden.
Yeah, this is fascinating. A really well-designed test can actually bring things to the surface. Underlying conclusions the client made, maybe paradoxes or what Virginie calls knots.
Knots, like tangled subconscious belief.
Exactly. Things that can totally sabotage progress if you don't spot them. She actually said, si on n'avait pas testé, ne serait pas remonté et ça aurait pu être des freins, faisant que notre client nous recontacte une semaine après pour nous dire ça n'a pas marché.
Right, so she's saying if we hadn't tested, these things wouldn't have come up and they could have become roadblocks,
Yeah,
leading to that dreaded call. It didn't work.
precisely. The key insight here is that testing is proactive. It lets you, the practitioner, find and deal with these potential roadblocks while the client is still right there with you.
Okay, so it's more than just spotting potential problems. It sounds like it actually helps us work more efficiently with clients too, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
By tackling these potential knots or hidden issues up front, you're kind of streamlining the whole process. It might even mean fewer sessions are needed overall. You get to the core faster.
And Virginie also made this really compelling point about, well, the inevitability of testing.
Oh, yeah.
She said, si on teste pas notre client, c'est la vie qui va le tester. Donc autant être sûr que les ressources qu'il ait trouvées en lui-même soient correspondantes.
Which basically means if we don't test our client in the session, life definitely will.
Right.
So it's really better for everyone involved to make sure the resources they've found inside themselves are actually up to the job.
That's such a crucial way to look at it for us practitioners. We're not just aiming for a quick fix or a temporary good feeling.
No, definitely not.
We want to equip clients with resources that genuinely work when things get tough out there. Testing is how we figure out if they're really prepared.
This is a reality check.
And beyond just uncovering problems, how does testing actually help make the change stick long term?
Well, that's about the depth, isn't it? Testing isn't just diagnostic. It actually reinforces the changes. When a client engages with potential challenges, even imagined ones, in the safe space of the session, they get a much deeper sense of their own capability, their resilience. That active engagement really cements the changes, makes them more likely to last.
Okay, so function one, bring hidden stuff to light.
Yeah.
Got it. What's the second key function of testing that Virginie covered?
The second big one is verifying that the resources the client has found and integrated are not just, there, but that they're genuinely strong, properly integrated, and crucially sustainable, built to last.
So it's not just enough that they've found a helpful resource. We need to make sure it's properly anchored, like really part of them now.
Exactly. The goal of really thorough testing is to strengthen those new resources so much that even when major life stuff happens, and they're way less likely to just snap back into the old patterns.
Okay.
Virginie put it really well. Si on arrive à pousser un client à l'extrême et qu'il passe le test, finalement, il y a peu de chances que dans la vie, ce qui se passe, aussi dramatique soit-il, il y a peu de chances qu'il retombe dans tous les cas dans ce travers-là.
Wow. So if we can push a client to an extreme scenario in the session and they handle it, pass the test, then there's much less chance that real-life drama, however big, will make them fall back into that specific old habit.
Yeah, that's the idea. You reduce the risk significantly. Obviously, humans are unpredictable, but thorough testing really stacks the odds in their favor.
It's like stress testing them, but in a safe environment to build resilience for the real world. Okay, that makes sense. Now, Virginie also broke testing down into three main types practitioners can use. Let's start with the first one. Emotional tests. What do those look like?
Emotional tests, well, they do what they say on the tin. They involve gently probing the client's emotional responses, often related directly to the issue they're working on. Virginie has used the example of someone dealing with, say, compulsive eating. A direct challenge might involve you, the practitioner, showing a bit of playful skepticism quite soon after they feel a shift.
So we're kind of playing devil's advocate a bit, not to undermine them, but to get them to solidify the change internally.
Precisely. The example Virginie gave was something like, ah, bah, ça peut pas être aussi facile. Like, oh, come on, it can't be that easy.
Aha, yeah.
Or, là, tu es en train de me dire que il y a 20 minutes, il y avait une sorte d'addiction au sucre. Et là, tu es en train de me dire que c'est plus un problème. Allez, arrête. Je crois pas.
You're telling me 20 minutes ago you had this sugar addiction and now it's just gone. Come on, I don't believe it.
Right. The point for us practitioners is that this pushes the client to actually defend their progress, to embody it, articulate why it is different now. It anchors the change deeper than just thinking about it.
I get it. You're nudging them to stand by their own progress, to really own the shift internally.
Exactly. Makes them validate it for themselves. Another way to do emotional testing is to create future scenarios, but ones that have some emotional weight to them. See how their new resources hold up.
Okay, can you give us practitioners an example of how we might set up a scenario like that?
Sure. Let's take someone to quit smoking. You might paint a picture. Imagine que là, tu rentres ce soir, non que de lundi tu as bossé. Ton patron te parle mal, et tu rentres ce soir, et ta femme te prend la tête. Qu'est-ce que tu crois que tu vas faire?
Imagine it's Monday, you go to work, your boss gives you a hard time, and then you come home and your wife is upset with you. What do you think you'll do then?
Exactly. You're layering potential stressors.
Right, watching to see how they anticipate responding. Does that old urge pop up?
Yeah. It lets the unconscious mind really engage with that imagined stress. It reveals either the strength of the new resources or maybe lingering weak spots. And like Virginie pointed out, this can sometimes uncover new knots you didn't even know were there.
Like in her example, the person felt okay about the work stress part, but then realized, oh wait, conflict with my partner. That's when I really want a cigarette.
Exactly. That's super valuable info for you as the practitioner. Might not have come up otherwise.
Yeah, definitely not through just asking, so what are your triggers?
Right. It shows how complex our emotional triggers can be and how testing helps get a fuller picture, allows for more targeted work. Okay, so that's emotional tests. Let's move to the second type Virginie mentioned for practitioners, situational or locational tests.
Okay, situational tests. How are these different from the emotional ones we just talked about?
Well, there's definitely overlap, but situational tests put more focus on specific external things, environments, social settings, places or situations. The client links to the old behavior. Virginie's example was someone who mainly smokes socially.
Ah, that makes sense. As practitioners, we know triggers aren't always internal feelings. Sometimes it's the place or the people.
Totally. So testing here means guiding the client to vividly imagine being in those specific situations. For the social smoker, you might say, imaginons que maintenant que vendredi soir, tes amis pour t'appeler pour aller boire un verre, etc. Qu'est-ce que tu penses que tu vas faire, Lucia? Proposer une cigarette. Qu'est-ce que tu penses que tu vas faire?
Imagine it's Friday night, your friends call, you go out for drinks. What do you think you'll do? Someone offers you a cigarette. What happens?
And then you push a bit. Non, je pense que c'est bon. Je vais refuser. Tu es sûr? Mais ils vont insister.
No, I think I'll be okay. I'll refuse. Are you sure? But what if they insist? So as practitioners, we're getting them to mentally rehearse navigating those specific external pressures.
Exactly. And Virginie also noted how this can uncover ritualistic stuff. Might ask specifically, are there particular times or events where they think they might slip up?
Like that example of the annual vacation with friends, where smoking had just become this automatic part of the trip.
Yeah, those deeply ingrained patterns tied to very specific contexts. And the follow-up questions are key for us practitioners, exploring why those specific situations are triggers, and then working with the client to figure out how to break those associations, how to handle it differently.
So with situational tests, it's not just spotting the trigger, but really digging into the why behind its power in that specific place or group. That feels important for planning the intervention.
Definitely.
Okay, and that brings us nicely to the third type of test Virginie talked about for practitioners, pushing to the extreme. Or, as she called them, ridiculous tests. This sounds interesting.
Yeah, these are fun, but also really powerful. They're deliberately designed to challenge the client's resolve right down to the core, sometimes using exaggeration or absurdity. The idea is to push way beyond normal triggers and see how deep the commitment to change really runs.
You mentioned an anecdote from the training about a client who quit smoking, but the root issue was more about emotional neglect stuff. How did extreme testing fit in there?
Right. Virginie talked about using a kind of absurd scenario, an old, undesirable partner showing up to see how the client reacted, even though they hadn't directly worked on relationships. The client's spontaneous reaction was really telling. She quoted the client saying something like, "Non mais c'est un gamin, enfin j'ai du mal à comprendre."
No, but he's such a child. I can barely understand it now.
Wow. So even though the scenario was unrelated to smoking, her reaction showed this massive internal shift in self-worth and standards.
Exactly. It's amazing how these indirect tests can reveal profound core changes. And then there's the million-dollar question you mentioned. That sounds like a serious tool for practitioners.
Oh, absolutely. This is where you deliberately go beyond everyday stuff to gauge fundamental commitment. Virginie shared asking, "Admettons qu'il te propose $1 million pour fumer une cigarette. Qu'est-ce que tu fais?"
Let's say someone offered you $1 million just to smoke one cigarette. What would you do?
And the client's reaction was apparently this immediate visceral F you, which showed a rejection of the old habit that went way beyond just willpower. It was about identity now.
That's incredibly revealing for us as practitioners. It gets right to their values, what matters most now, and the alien abduction one, that's creatively pushing boundaries.
Totally. It's about getting surprising, unscripted reactions by using completely off-the-wall situations. Virginie's example.
Imagine d'imaginer que des aliens viennent te chercher et qu'ils te proposent. C'est soit tu fumes, soit ils t'enlèvent. Simple, tu as le choix, qu'est-ce que tu fais?
Imagine aliens show up. They offer you a choice. Smoke this cigarette or we abduct you. Simple choice. What do you do?
Ha! Exactly. The goal for us practitioners isn't to find the right answer. It's to see how the client's unconscious mind scrambles in a bizarre situation. It often reveals surprising strengths or just how solid that commitment really is.
It sounds like these extreme tests aren't just diagnostic tools for practitioners, but they could actually add a bit of lightness or even fun to the session sometimes. Absolutely. Virginie stressed that. The goal is to have a bit of fun with it, get creative, while still thoroughly probing resilience from every angle imaginable.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, it's really clear that Virginie Imir's insights give us hypnosis practitioners a much deeper appreciation for testing in conversational hypnosis. It's not just some final checklist item. It's fundamental for uncovering those hidden snags, making sure the new resources are properly installed and tough enough, and ultimately really cutting down the chances of relapse.
We looked at those three main types Virginie laid out for us practitioners. Emotional tests, digging into feelings and defending the change. Situational tests, looking at external triggers like places or people. And those extreme or ridiculous tests, pushing way beyond the norm to find that deep core commitment and resourcefulness.
Yeah, the big takeaway for us practitioners seems to be the huge value in, respectfully challenging our clients, pushing them a bit to really explore how deep and durable their transformation is.
Going beyond just the surface feeling good, aiming for change that really lasts.
Definitely.
So maybe a final thought for you, the practitioner listening right now. How can you start weaving these different testing approaches into your own work? Creatively, ethically, of course. What might your version of that million-dollar question be for different issues your clients bring? What kind of unexpected, maybe even slightly absurd challenges could you pose? Not just to solidify their changes, but to really help them build that unwavering resilience for whatever life decides to throw at them next.